Good morning, everyone. This is Marilyn Wilson, one of the founders of RETechnology and one of the partners at Wave Group Inc. And I'm just excited to get our webinar started today, Online Leads Don't Suck, Your Conversion Rates Do. We've got some really neat stuff to talk to you guys about today. I think some really actionable, relevant, exciting things. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So I want to introduce first our three panelists. We have some really smart people with us today. First, we have Mark Seiden, who is a self-proclaimed data guru, and I think the industry agrees with him. He's been with Onboard Informatics for 14 years now, doing all types of amazing, really smart data programs for brokerages, associations, MLSs, all kinds of neat things. And he's been in this industry for over 20 years doing technology and information services. So he's got a lot of neat things to talk to us about today. Secondly, we've got Bobby Bryant, who's a broker in Texas and the founder of DOS, which he's going to explain to us in a little while. But he's also got a ton of other experience with mortgage and real estate schools, and he's an author of a best-selling book. He does training, and he was even interviewed for, if any of you know about the Danger Report. If you haven't seen that, it's a program that NAR has put out talking about all the risks in our industry for brokers, for associations, for MLS. It's a great program to check out if you haven't seen it yet. And we also have Brian Freemel. He is the owner of World B Consulting. He does a lot of really neat business development activity for real estate technology companies. He's actually worked with hundreds of them over the last several years. So all three of them have some really neat stuff they're going to tell us about. And let me just quickly go to the next slide, just quickly explain who else will be with us. So I'm Marilyn Wilson. I'm the founding partner of Wave Group, and again, one of the founders of RETechnology. And last but certainly not least, we have Aaron Gilbert, who's the engagement expert from Onboard and who's really lives, sleeps, and eats and breathes the types of things we're going to be talking about today. So let's just jump in and get into it. Before we do, just wanted to show everyone, if you're looking at your screen, on the right-hand side, you'll see a little, where the arrow is there, you'll see a thing that says questions. Feel free throughout the broadcast to add questions there. We will be addressing them toward the end of the session, but feel free if something hits you as you're thinking to add them there, and then we'll go through them in a little while. Okay, next slide, please. So before we start, we just thought it would be kind of neat to get a sense of who is with us today. So if any of you that are on the call, if you could just describe to you what your current role is. Are you an agent, a broker, someone in real estate support, or if you're not in real estate, and click that and then submit it, and then we'll get rolling with we'll see the answers to that, and then we'll get rolling with the presentation. Just give you 30 seconds or so for that, if you just want to click on that and submit. Got it. Okay, look, so great. So it looks like we've got a good number of agents today and brokers with us and other people in support. Let's just jump into it. I'm going to turn it over now to Erin Gilbert, again, the engagement expert from Onboard Informatics, and she's going to walk us through a few of kind of what we're going to be doing today. Erin, take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Marilyn. Hi, my name is Erin Gilbert. I've been doing marketing for about 15 years, so I've been doing a lot of customer engagement for everything from Starbucks to Pfizer. I now get to work with Onboard Informatics, so I'm in real estate technology, and we kind of obsess about data-driven consumer engagement. So very pleased to be here. Today's session, we're going to talk a little bit about the connection between engagement and lead conversion, just so we kind of put everything in context. And then we're going to talk about yesterday, how perhaps 10 years ago real estate agents and brokers got their leads, what's happening today, where it could be better, where it might be broken, and then our panelist is really going to take over and talk about what we could be doing for tomorrow to improve what we're doing today. So we're really excited to get into that. Finally, as we go through today, if you have any questions, as Marilyn pointed out, please write them in. We are saving some time at the end to take those questions. So let's quickly, next slide, go into this connection between consumer engagement, which is something we throw around a lot, and what that means for lead conversion, which is the topic of today's webinar. And to exemplify this, I randomly pulled up a website. This is a website, if I look for what my home is worth in Colorado, but this happens to be a website. This could be anything. This could be if you have a Facebook page, if you have landing pages, whatever you're doing online to try to pull in leads. So this obviously is trying to attract home sellers, which is something I think we're all very interested in. But it doesn't do a great job engaging. And what I mean by that is it doesn't offer me any information up front. It doesn't relay any trust. It doesn't tell me who you are, who this company is. It doesn't even really tell me what I'm going to get if I fill out these 9 fields of information. And as a consumer, I don't really trust this, and I'm not likely to engage with this, and therefore I'm likely not going to convert. So we look at this because we want to tie that engagement idea into lead conversions. And so the next slide is something that I have to admit we do offer here at Onboard, but it's just an idea of this is trying to accomplish the same thing, right? It's trying to attract home sellers, but it does offer information up front before asking me for any contact information. It does put a face to this information, so now I trust that agent. It does put a brokerage to that information, so now I can trust that brand. And also, and I think this is really interesting, I know a lot of people talk about AVMs and how they're not very trustworthy, but if you start to make them more interactive, which is what this tool does, so I can now say, oh, my property is amazing, and I can scroll that little orange bar all the way to the right. Now I can see the potential of my home value, and I'm much more likely to make a phone call to this agent. But not only that, like let's say that you had something, a lead capture form with this that said, hey, I can send you this information on a monthly basis. What are the chances that now that you've built my trust and you've kind of, as Mark likes to say, you know, you've held out your hand to shake my hand and said this is who I am and what I'm about, what are the chances that I'm going to fill that out? Much higher. So I know today during the conversation we're going to talk a lot about consumer engagement, and I know what we all really care about are leads, but they are totally linked. The better you engage with consumers, especially in today's climate of all this noise and clutter and constant messaging, the better you engage and pull people in, the better your leads will be.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is really interesting. This is consistent with research that we've seen many times as well, that the more information and the smarter that you, the more of an expert and the more of a consultant that you can be to a consumer, the better they're going to, more likely to engage with you. So we're going to ask the group another question now. So how do you get leads today? And of course it can be any or all of these things. Is it from friends and family? Is it from online? Is it from direct mail and print? Is it from open houses and yard signs, office walk-ins, or any or all of the above? So if you can fill those in real quickly, click on that and then we'll share those results quickly too. Okay, so it looks like this group is much more attuned to online, which is awesome, than many others. We're going to show in a second the national trends on that. Of course, friends and family are always going to be a great tool, but it looks like this group is actually even more about online, which is amazing. So if we can click to the next slide, we'll just show some national averages on that. This is what most people say across the board. So most people are saying it's about contacts and referrals, and much lower numbers for online. So this group is at 83% online. It's going to be a fun discussion. You got some fun people here to tell you some even neater ways to do some cool things. So let's jump to the next slide, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mark. So this is kind of what it looked like in the past. 2006, it was really all offline. And by 2014, you can see it's going significantly more toward the internet. And again, it sounds like the group on this call is well aware of that and is already very attuned to that. So that's awesome. So let's talk now about where we want to see it going. And I'm going to introduce Mark Seiden to kind of take us through the next few slides. Mark?
Hey, Marilyn, thank you so much. And Erin, great setup for this as well. And hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I think that's a fantastic statistic in contrast to what we usually see, that a lot of us are getting more leads from online, and we're a data company, and as Erin said, we obsess with data, and data tells a wonderful story and sometimes not so wonderful. But the beauty of adding science to what we're doing is you can make adjustments along the way. And I want to just kind of set the table here so that we can take a deeper dive and maybe give you some things to really think about as we move forward. So I mean, basically, we have a website, a Facebook page, a brick and mortar, and the reason for that, besides getting the referrals that we do, is obviously to drive traffic from the web and so forth, so that we can increase our pipeline and close more deals. The problem that we're seeing, what the data suggests, is that sometimes we're not adding the value, or we're not shaking somebody's hand enough times, and they come in anonymous, and unfortunately up to half of your traffic turns around and walks out anonymous. And we're leaving money on the table, right? Sales is a numbers game. The more people we speak to, the more people we engage, the more people we can put into our pipeline, and that gives us more opportunity to close. And the data will tell us a very simple story here. And again, it's the beauty of what we're doing today is this is all fixable. So if they come to your website and the call to action is to look at a property or to contact you, neither of which perhaps is satisfying to them, no offense to anybody, but listen, only 4% of people that come to your site or your page are ready to talk to you today, and the chances are they're not going to buy the property they're looking at. But it's an unbelievable time for you to shake somebody's hand and turn that anonymity into something more tangible, like a prospect in your CRM. Well, if more data suggests that overwhelmingly 92% of online buyers are searching for some neighborhood information. Forget about what we do. They're searching for some value, some takeaway, something that will leave them, as Aaron pointed out, with some trust or a reason, more importantly, to contact you. So the more value you're willing to give up front, all right, the better chance you're going to have of somebody turning around and saying, hey, here's my hand, let's start talking, right? So the traffic you're driving today, based on the data, is not producing the qualified prospects that it can. If the average conversion rate is 1% on real estate sites, yet there are millions of consumers out there and millions of leads are produced now on a daily basis, there is a tremendous room for upside. And I think the data suggests some things to think about on how we can add more value, better engage folks earlier in the process, realize that some of them aren't going to buy today, right? So that we need to keep in touch with them over time. Listen, when people fill out a lead form, they might get an automated response, but the follow-up certainly has not been automatic. And if we're losing 3/4 of our leads that are online, man, are we leaving money on the table. But once again, there are some very, I don't even call them tricks, there are very scientific ways to bring value to the table, to shake people's hands along the way, to realize that some of them aren't going to buy today and they need some nurturing and cultivation, and they're looking for certain things. You could just ask them what they're looking for and provide that over time, and I guarantee you that you will lose less leads, gain more prospects, and you'll close more deals. And the beauty of this, folks, is that we don't need to close that many more deals, right, to increase our business. But right now, looking at this data, our online leads are not generating enough closes. They have a bad rap, all right, and they're frowned upon, even though we still, for some reason, clamor to get more leads. We need to up our game. We need to get better at realizing what these folks are looking for and simply provide them, and the byproduct of that will be more prospects in your pipeline, right? And I think this is a great place to see, okay, where we go from here and what does tomorrow bring, and hand it back to Marilyn so she could take it back. Thank you.
Yeah, so the key question that we're going to try to answer today is exactly what Mark's talking about. And that 5% number, from sometimes when I talk to folks, that's even a little high. Sometimes I'm here as low as 1% to 2%. We all know that that's not as much as we want, especially for those of you that are spending a good amount of money trying to generate on leads in a variety of different sources, as we just saw earlier. So we're going to turn now to our 3 panel experts, and they're going to help us understand 3 different ways that we can really try to make the fact that online leads don't suck anymore. Let's get away from that. So Bobby, welcome. Nice to talk to you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us about DOS. What is it? Why is it so special, and why is it shaking up the industry? What's going on there?
You know what? We're having a good time over at DOS. DOS actually is going to be the world's first voice-activated real estate search and home servicing portal that actually leverages artificial intelligence, computer vision, machine learning, and predictive analytics to give both realtors and users a new and delightful way to search for homes by using your natural language and voice. It's kind of similar to Siri, to ask any question about any property in the country to get an accurate, easy, and instant response. Similar to what we're talking about here, instant gratification.
Gotcha. So tell us more about that. Like, how are you using artificial intelligence, and how do you think this is actually going to change the game? What's going to make, using voice versus somebody typing something, what's going to make it different?
You know, what's interesting, when you actually look at exactly our topic here, and you start talking about people, doing search, having to go to different sites, fragmented information, what DOS does, it brings it all together. And we leverage this artificial intelligence and machine learning to give the user a more delightful experience, a more instant experience, by allowing them to search using that natural language and voice. If you think about it, we speak more words per minute than we actually type. And then let's not talk about the pain points of having to do clicks and search. It said 20% of people get frustrated by having to click and learn a site, but by using their natural language and voice, we're actually able to capture more leads and drastically reduce that frustration and capture more clients for realtors to get more leads.
So maybe just give us a quick use case on something like that. So let's say that I was looking for a property. Would it, with natural or with artificial intelligence, can I ask a variety of different questions about the home or the market or the market statistics, or what kinds of things can I use when I'm working with DOS?
You sure can. And the reason why with DOS what we wanted to accomplish is number one, just an ease of use and not having to again toggle back and forth from multiple different sites and put this data all in one place. But so what someone would be able to do is literally say, DOS, show me all the homes for sale in said neighborhood. DOS will tell you how you have 42 results. And then you can say, okay, well, show me all the houses that are under $300,000. And it will drill down your search. It will also add, you could go a little further there and say, well, show me all the houses that are one story, that has granite countertops. And just like Alexa for your house, it's cognitive. So it learns you and it gets used to your query search, and all of a sudden it starts recommending properties for you, and it does this automatically, and that's the beauty of what DOS is doing.
That's kind of crazy. It's really it's pretty neat, I think.
Yes.
Could it also do things like if I said I want to be, like if I don't know what house I want yet, I just want a neighborhood that might be near a particular school or a particular landmark of some sort? Can it do that as well?
It would definitely do that as well, and that's the cool thing about it, and even our partnership with Onboard Informatics, is that the objective is to help the user to actually do search the way they want to search. When you start talking about hyperlocal and show me properties that are close to this landmark, I want to show me all the houses that are for sale that's zoned to this elementary school because I want my kids in this particular school. So it allows the user to search. Yes, very unique.
And would it even go so far as to say, tell me the houses that are near the best rated elementary school in this area?
It would definitely do that as well. It has, that's data, and that's the beauty of what we're able to do with artificial intelligence and machine learning, is that we're able to munch down on this data and go way beyond the standard search queries that a website or standard websites that any standard website right now on the internet offers. It allows you to go, it's way more data out there than we're currently using. And so what DOS does, it brings all that together into one hub, and is what we call broken into classifications that will allow the user and the realtor to engage this platform in a very, very unique and rich way.
So in effect, you're kind of having the conversation that you might have once you're a little bit further down the process. But that's probably one of the reasons why people might be more likely to engage with you if you're giving them that kind of detailed information that they might need if they were going to talk to you, once they actually met an agent in person. It's kind of doing that online, right?
Exactly right. As a matter of fact, you hit it right on the head when you said conversation. DOS actually is going to be the very first conversational search engine. when you go to most search engine, you're typing in information, you're pecking down all into the drop downs of search bars and queries. But with DOS, you're actually able to engage and search in a conversational format with this technology.
It's kind of creepy, but I love it. It's awesome.
Right?
Well, Marilyn, Bobby happens to be a creepy guy, so this is perfect for you.
Perfect.
Right?
That's really neat. So let's talk about this, how this intersects with mobile too, because we now know that every time you hear from any of the large portals, they'll tell you that at least 50%, if not more, of their traffic is coming from people searching on a handheld device. And you guys have said it, and others have, that it's really pretty much everyone at some level is using a handheld device today. So how does the role of DOS play into that? Like, how do you help people leverage the mobile connection more effectively with today's consumers?
With everything, and you're exactly correct, when you start talking about the average person now is searching on their mobile device. I mean, these are portable computers, if you will. Yeah, not many people search on their desktop, but let's talk about that. Also, what makes DOS special is because if we compare searching on desktop, on our computers at office, home, or whatever, and versus our mobile device, I think we all can agree that our search on our mobile devices are very limited. It's not as comprehensive as searching on a desktop. Well, not with DOS. You don't lose any efficiency in your search in getting information. So, mobile devices, again, are like computers. We're able to do more and more and more with this tool. And what we wanted to do with DOS was be able to continue to set information free, give the user, unlimited instant gratification. And so you're right, mobile devices, more and more, it doesn't matter, when you start talking about where we're at and what we need, we have a microwave mentality, and we want everything right now. And so DOS wanted to be able to do that in a very, again, surprising, delightful way in actually entertaining, to be able to engage a technology that will not only show you the answer, but also talk back to you.
Well, it's kind of logical, I think, that people are a little hesitant when they're early on in the process, especially, to provide a whole lot of information to a realtor because, like you said, they haven't given them much in return.
Exactly.
I would guess that with this, once they have this conversation, they're much more sort of friendly to be able to talk to the agent and engage in a quicker and more in-depth way. Is that what you're seeing?
It does, because people do want information. Again, the data says that people are looking for properties 6 to 8 months before they even engage a realtor. Well, how can we make that experience more superior? So when we turn around and finally, through the DOS platform, put that consumer in touch with our realtor partner, we have a way more warmer lead. And not only that, but the realtor actually has, again, the predictive analytics piece that I mentioned earlier. Now, all of a sudden, because it's been following the user that's on the site, it knows what they've been looking at. It's saying, hey, Mark, this buyer has been looking at stucco homes in this zip code, in this particular neighborhood. The average house we noticed that they're looking at are 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath. So in other words, before I even actually engage with the consumer, I already have a snapshot of what they're looking at and what they like. That's the beauty of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the predictive analytics piece.
So then when you have a more, quote, casual conversation, you could say, oh my gosh, I just saw this 5-bedroom house, and does that seem like something you might be interested in? You already know that they're more likely to be interested in that, which is going to make you sound even smarter, right?
Exactly. And they're going to say, oh my God, you're reading my mind. I love you already.
Yes, you literally are reading my mind, but they don't know that. I
Exactly.
love this stuff. This is so cool. It's so cool.
Exactly.
So where do you think, where is this all taking us in terms of real estate search? Is it going to blow up our traditional sort of IDX search and go somewhere different, or what's it going to do for us?
I think by the year 2020, if you look at everything now, it's pretty much going towards bots and voice activation. And again, DOS being the world's first, voice activated search, I do believe we're at the cusp, at the forefront of where home search is going. And then to add to that, the conversational piece. Why is all this happening? Is because when we start talking about millennials, again, we're talking about a segment of people that again have this microwave mentality. I want it right now. I want the information. Don't talk to me. Just give me the information and let me decide. And so we're catering to that. And then at the same time, just really at the end of the day, just evolving, you know, or how can I say, finding new ways to execute the basics. So with voice activation and voice search, I think that's the future of home search. I think that people want to engage technology differently. They want to be able to talk to it. That's what's happening now. We're being trained with Alexa and Siri and Cortana and Google. All of these technologies are training us, and these are search engines. Why not with real estate? And that's what DOS is bringing to the table.
Gotcha. And I'm going to ask most of the questions at the end, but this one kind of is logical to what you're just saying, so I'll ask it now. This came from the audience. How easily or effectively can the DOS platform be integrated into an existing website and property search infrastructure? So if you've already had, you know, it sounds like many of the people on the call have already figured out good ways to use their current tools to build leads and things. Can this get integrated into that and just add a whole new dimension, or how does that work?
We will be working on that on a second phase of DOS. Okay. DOS will roll out as a national platform, and then we will create where it could be integratable into other, you know, websites, associations, etc. So yes.
Cool. Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, Bobby. We'll be back to you with some questions, but I'm going to move this over to Mark now. Apparently, Mark is kind of a talkative guy, and he's been fighting at the bit to get back on the phone, so we're going to let him talk. How you doing, Mark?
I've been talking for the last 5 minutes, but I was on mute, so I obviously nobody heard me. So
were you fascinating? Okay. I'm sure you were fascinating.
I'm much smarter than Bobby is, as you'll soon find out.
Okay.
All right. So Mark, that means I'm the smartest since I'm last, right?
Yes, Brian, you are. Save the best
you are absolutely. You are the best, Brian, for sure.
Now,
okay,
before
Mark.
you start, I just wanted to all kidding aside, I mean, we're so thrilled and humbled to be a partner with Bobby and DOS and what these folks are doing over there. It's really incredible. It's cutting edge for sure, but it's really heading us in a wonderful direction. Just wanted to say that. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's really neat. For those that don't know the history of Onboard, they were the first group that ever brought us lifestyle search, which is kind of the precursor, I think, to all of the data that now DOS is going to be capitalizing on. So you've been on the same page for a long time. But so Onboard's been in the game of providing data to the industry since 2001. You know, today, how do you see your clients using the data differently, and how does that translate into sales? You know, we talk about data sometimes incessantly in our industry, but what does it mean in practical terms for someone that's just trying to sell real estate?
Well, great question, and I think as Bobby highlighted for all of us, I think it's such an exciting time to be in this space where data is still the fundamental underpinnings of the real estate transaction. And it's never been a better time to be a real estate agent because there are technologies now and platforms that are helping agents to better connect with consumers at the right time with the right information, which leads to, as we're talking about today, better connections and more opportunities, you know, to close deals. When we started back in 2001, I mean, we were kind of lucky. You know, we rode this wave of, you know, this inference that content needed to be everywhere, right? And every site that launched needed local data. We happened to, you know, be part of the pioneering that, and they called us, and we put data on their website. And the inference was, hey, if you put school data on a website, people will come and interact with it and read it, and hopefully they'll reach out to you and have a question, or they'll give you their name or something in return for, you know, for that data. Today, we've moved the ball all the way down the field. We don't even consider ourselves a data company anymore, believe it or not. We're using now a content-driven engagement system to use data at different facets of the transaction to, first of all, shake somebody's hand, as we said, then to provide them with value over time and keep them engaged with you and in the game until they're ready to transact. And why this translates for agents and brokers is because we're doing this very automated on their behalf while they're out doing what they should be doing, and that's identifying real estate or properties, buyers or sellers, and we're just there in the background to help them speak to these folks with, you know, in a more meaningful way.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Hopefully.
So, you know, one of the first questions that we got, in fact, as soon as we opened up the the conference today, we got a question about, and this is the $1,000 question, right? So everybody on the call, or a good chunk of them, seems to be very sensitized to the idea of using online to generate leads. But the real goal is to get them in the car looking at stuff with you, right? Either that or calling you for a listing appointment. How does data take them from from that early on? I've just somehow talked to you, and how do you get them there? And are there ways to short circuit the process and get them there more quickly using data today?
Sure. Well, I think Aaron set the table today by saying, listen, you have to start providing value right away. Real estate is not one size fits all. I mean, you could have a deep inventory of listings and not move them that readily because you might not be talking to the right prospects. Look, there's a lot of agents on the call. We love agents. You guys you guys make money on commission. You need to sell real estate now, right? And we get that. But a majority of the people that you talk to today are not buying today, right? They're thinking about it. And if we miss that whole area of people that are kind of in the thought process, then we're disengaging them, right? So what can we do, and what things can we provide to them to help them along the way? I don't have to blur out statistics. Bobby said it, it's all over. Everybody looks online. Everybody looks for information about either the property or the area that they're looking for. So the quicker you engage, the quicker you bring value, the quicker they're going to turn around and start talking to you. And that's the key here, right? It's when they start talking to you, you start that conversation, whether it's through DOS or directly, from a prospect to an agent. And that leads, obviously, to the opportunity to sell more real estate at the right time.
And I want to add to that, too, and this is Bobby. And Mark is exactly correct. I mean, when you start talking about, it was interesting. I mean, right now, they interviewed, several buyers and millennials all the same, and it was interesting that responsiveness is now the most important quality in selecting an agent. A few years ago, or for several years, it was trustworthiness and knowledge. Can you believe now it's responsiveness that supersedes those two things? And they say that, if you respond to what Mark just stated, you're 100 times more likely if you respond back to that lead within 5 minutes, if you answer the call or respond within 5 minutes. And then millennials were interviewed stating pretty much that, that 69%, said that they expect better communication. And so what does that say about the real estate industry? Are we not communicating accordingly? Are we pouncing on them instead of potentially taking an approach of facilitating, their needs and listening and understanding their question? And then lastly, I'll say this. It's funny because sometimes I look at the word leads like we say Facebook friends. Like, you have people that you've never met, but you call them friends. But when you think of a lead, is a lead really a lead, or is it an inquiry or an opportunity that you could take on a journey to become a lead? And we have to look at the word lead differently, and how do we cultivate? And like Mark mentioned, a majority of the people you're going to come in contact with aren't buying or doing anything today. There will be a few people that are. The problem with most realtors is that our attention span, our bandwidth is only about 90 days because we're thinking, what's the business I can close right now today because I need to make some money. The majority of the people we come in contact with via leads are going to be months beyond that. So what systems do we have in place? How are we able to nurture and capture and engage these people from cold to warm to hot leads?
Exactly. And we're just finishing up some research at Wave Group, actually, that we did on behalf of the Houston Association in Texas. One of the things that we saw that was interesting is that when people are early on in the process, where the places that Bobby's talking about, they think they're going to talk to 3 agents, and when it comes down to actually selecting an agent, most of them are only looking at 1. So not only is it important to engage them early, you may be the one that, if you do engage them early and do provide them the right information, your chance of closing them and becoming their agent is going to be much, much higher than if you don't respond and don't answer things like that. So absolutely, responsiveness is the key. And actually, to your point, I think responsiveness leads to trust. if you do the right thing and do give them the information they want, that's where the trust comes from, and that's why that becomes secondary. Responsiveness is the key. So go back to your question for you, Mark. You guys really have been on, as I mentioned earlier, on the forefront of data-driven marketing and engagement for years. This is not your first rodeo in this. You actually even did a white paper I saw about this. So when we say, what does it mean to you to be data-driven, and what does that mean? Like, when I think historically we might have always thought data meant 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, right? But today, in today's marketplace, with really smart, millions of different places for consumers to get information about real estate other than just for the realtor, what does it mean to be data-driven, and what difference is that going to make for the future real estate consumer?
Sure. Hey, Bob, you okay if I take this one? Good. So that's a great question, and I think that's why we're so excited here at Onboard Informatics. I mentioned before, we don't even consider ourselves a data company anymore, and that's a tricky thing to say when you've grown up as a data aggregation company. But we built a system, basically, to help our customers find more sales opportunities. And we do that by leveraging all this great content, right, all this data that we have collected over time to excite a consumer, to engage them, to nurture them, and to set up the agent to, for more conversions. And the way we're doing it is by delivering data to these folks in a timely manner, right, in a way that they want to see it, to ingest it, right, that's consumable, but most importantly at the time that they're looking for it. And just a minute to explain. So recently we purchased a company called Address Report. And Address Report ostensibly is like Carfax for real estate. We know how many folks are out there doing Carfaxes before they buy a car. They want to feel empowered and they want to feel educated. Well, the same goes for a real estate transaction, right? And an analogy I love to give is that I have 2 daughters in grammar school, and when my 2nd grade teacher, my daughter Danny, emails me, I open that email 100% of the time. And more importantly than opening that email, I read the content, very simply because I care. And when you're doing a real estate transaction or thinking about it, there's a lot of things along the way that concern you. It could be the air quality in the neighborhood. It could be businesses that are opening. It could be crime. It could be home values or what have you. So imagine a system where you can actually ask people what concerns them, right, and then deliver them data, right, on a timely basis that concerns them, right? And what we're seeing is not magic, but it's amazing, is that people are opening these emails that we're sending on behalf of our clients at a rate of 3 times that of the industry average. And it's very simply why? Because we ask them what they care about, and we're delivering it to them on a timely manner. A lot of folks do content marketing without content, and they do a lot of things about them. And what they don't cater to is their prospect. And just by answering or asking them what they care about and sending them these things on a timely basis, we're seeing the KPIs that we all care about, open rates, click-through rates, and most importantly, conversions, start to move to the right. And we do not have to move these things very much to the right to have a material impact on our business. And it's happening now, more personalization, whether it's DOS, Brian will talk about stuff today. What we're trying to do for our customers, just ask them and provide them what they're looking for, and the magic will happen.
So basically, we put them in the center of the conversation instead of the property and the 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. We've completely switched it to be about them and not about the property we're trying to sell, which makes sense.
That is absolutely correct, because again, the chances they might not buy that particular property.
Okay, so just future, you've got lots of magic little crystal balls where you live. Where do you think consumer engagement is going, and how can companies like Onboard help that? So it sounds like you're already in the way, but where does it go next? It's like so exciting.
Well, I think we're kind of at this precipice where we're starting to realize that one-to-one marketing means actually providing you with the value that you're looking for. And as a information provider, as the underpinnings for our technology, we have massive amounts of data providers that want to feed into our platform. you know, interesting data points that won't on their own sell more real estate, but it's part of a system gives us many, many more excuses to reach out to our consumers in thoughtful ways. Many more excuses for our consumers to open emails that are branded for us with our contact information. Many, many more, you know, strikes at the iron, you know, to just give ourselves the numbers game in our favor. So I think we're starting to realize that by providing this, and I think what Bobby's doing is great too, you know, by providing this on a timely basis, it's going to open the aperture to more sales. And I think we're just going to keep getting better and better at this and talking to our consumers in a more thoughtful process. And I think that's short term, and we'll see where we go from there. But I can see a lot more sales in our future by doing this.
It's really neat. I would love to see the kind of data that's coming your way. I bet it's really exciting. And again, you guys have been using the word mashing up a lot of stuff for a long time. So you're perfectly positioned to bring us even more intelligence. That's awesome. Okay, let's flip it over to Brian now. Sorry to keep you waiting so long, Brian.
No, that's okay, Mark. I want to thank you for taking up half of my time. This way I can really be focused on my answers. Thank you.
Well, you don't have to pay me the $20 you owe me now. We're even. All right? We're all good.
All right. That makes it square. You're right.
Okay, so Brian, you've been in this game a long time, like the other two folks that we've been talking to. What do you see as the biggest trends in real estate technology, and how do you see that translating to what we're talking about today to, you know, help agents and brokers with more consumer engagement, more conversion, and then ultimately with growing their business more aggressively?
Sure. You know, I like to frame our industry in a way that extends past just buyers and sellers. People who are homeowners really go through 4 cycles. They spend most of their time actually not looking or buying or selling, but living in their house. Bobby referenced the 6 to 8 months that they start to look at homes before they reach out to an agent. And then, of course, there's the cycle when they're selling and or buying. What I've seen in the last few years is that there's what I call a group of consumer home management portal companies who are really focused on at the end of that buying and selling cycle, engaging the consumer as they live in the home. And they're doing this in a few ways, either through giving them content about inventorying their appliances and remodeling, or how they work through the moving cycle, or even the maintenance of the home that's necessary while they live in the house. Companies like Move Easy and Homekeeper and Homes Auto. And there's others that are just emerging. A couple that I'm actually working with in my consulting firm that are doing this with smart home and with utility efficiency. More and more of these companies are doing this, and I think the reason they're doing it is that if they can engage the people who have just bought or sold a home, and more importantly bought, and keep them engaged with the broker and agent during that cycle using technology in a way that the agent doesn't have to do too much work, so that they can focus on what they do well, which is helping buyers and sellers. They can connect those people right back to the same brokerage and agents when they're looking for a home, when they start that looking cycle again.
So it's not just, I think that one of the, to your point, Mark, about changing or Bobby, I think, about changing the definition of a lead, what we're really talking about is creating a customer for life, where we're always staying with them, providing them with different types of information and insight and support at the appropriate time wherever they are in that sort of home ownership life cycle, and just staying with them. Ideally, once an agent captured a customer, they would never leave them. They'd never even think about leaving them, right?
That's right, and it's very hard because of, Mark, this is back to me. Come on. I'm just joking. Did you have something to say?
No, this actually was Bobby. I'm sorry. I was going to agree with that because, again, the statistics, and I'm a geek for stats, but and have to be. But you're right. Over 80% of buyers or consumers that have closed their transaction stated that they would use their realtor again. But in actuality, just barely over 20% do, because of the continuous engagement of what was just mentioned. I mean, people don't stay in touch with the client and continue to engage them even after the close.
Yeah, Bobby, I was going to quote the same exact statistic, and I was going to comment on that it's not agent's fault. It's not the agent's fault. It's a long cycle to stay engaged, and to keep a homeowner interested in a real estate agent or a real estate brokerage is very tough. And it would be, the agents have to be focused on what's next going to pay the bills and feed the family. It's really the technology space's fault that we haven't built something that helps agents do this automatically.
So one way to continue to grow your business is to never lose the ones that you have. We all know it's easier to keep a customer we have than to build and find a new one, right? So what you guys are helping them do is keep a customer and then add on new customers by continuing to be the group that's going to engage them with really interesting information right out of the gate. Pretty
That's right.
neat. So tell us, what's the single most important thing that a brokerage or an agent can do to better engage consumers? You know, what's that one takeaway? If they hear nothing else today but that, what should they think about?
Well, I think we've talked about, Bobby talked about the content that he can provide when they're looking. Mark talked a little bit about the content that Onboard can provide even during the selling cycle. I think it's all about that. I think it's about content, but it's not just any content. It's content that matters, content that the consumer's interested in. It can't just be something that's interesting to the brokerage or to the agent. It has to be content that's relevant to the consumer. You know, Zillow has done a really good job of this for one of the cycles I talked about, for the buying cycle. They've turned the looking at, well, it's really the looking cycle into an entertaining kind of event for consumers, and they continue to do it. If we can find the content that matters to individual consumers during the selling cycle and during the living cycle, most importantly, that's, I think, where you can close the loop and create a, like you said, Marilyn, a customer for life for the agent.
Gotcha. So that was one of the things I was just going to ask you about is good, better, and different. You can love or you can hate the third-party online sites. You know, people kind of have love-hate relationships with them, but they do play some role. But how do you see, you know, how does an agent keep ahead of competition in this space, especially when they compete with national portals, or some people think they compete with national portals like Realtor.com and Zillow Group? What do they do differently than they may be doing now?
Well, I think there's buyers are going to. I think it's going to be very hard for us as an industry to reverse the changes that have taken place as to how buyers look for homes. Buyers look for homes online. That just happens. The way that they find agents, however, is a little different. They still find them through past experience, referrals, references, relationships. That slide that we showed earlier showed, I think it's 75% still find the agent in that manner. So I think focusing not just on buyers, but focusing on sellers is one opportunity for real estate agencies and agents, but focusing on past experience and past customers. Really, again, it's technology that hasn't existed in a good way for agents yet. I think what Mark and his team are doing develops content that if it's used in a way that engages past consumers will be one opportunity for these brokerages to do something that they can't beat Zillow at, or do something different, because we're not going to beat Zillow at search. But you can beat Zillow at engaging past customers. You can beat Zillow, in my opinion, at engaging sellers. And one important piece is that when you have a customer in a transaction, a buyer or a seller, especially a seller, I think the seller is the forgotten component of the real estate transaction. They're really the customer. They're really the customer that's paying the bill, and they're really the customer that's receiving the most services from a brokerage, showings, open houses, marketing, all the things the brokerage does. If you can engage that seller with the brokerage and agent, they're the one that you have the best chance of engaging as a customer for life because of the content that you actually generate during that cycle.
So we just got a kind of sort of a comment and a question. One of them was, so this is essentially what we're talking about here, setting up a long-term annuity for your real estate career and business. Do you agree with that?
I do, and you know, it doesn't happen overnight, and that's one of the things that's kind of a challenging concept, is that just as you start, the average person lives in a home for, it used to be 7 years, it's actually closer to 10 now for a lot of reasons, but you know, on average, if you just had one, that person wouldn't come back to you for 7 years. But if you do this for every one of your 5 or 10 transactions in a year, on average, you're going to get someone who moves again in a couple of years, and they're going to come back to you. If you continue to build on that, it grows, and you do create this group of past customers who will become an annuity for you. And don't forget, most of people who move, if they've not been engaged by a real estate agent in the manner that I just described, they're going to go to other people that they know looking for an agent who does a good job. So it grows in kind of two manners. You build it yourself, and then your customer base will in fact provide great referrals to you. It can really build a big business if done right.
Got it. Okay, one more question for you, Brian, then I'm going to go to some audience questions. You know, today, like the last 10 years, what do you think has been the one trend in real estate that you see sticking around for the next 10 years, something that's emerged relatively recently, and what do you see going away in the next 10 years? What are the things that are just not going to be relevant anymore?
Well, let me talk about the second question first. There's all kinds of new, I hate to use the word gimmicks, but kind of gimmicky new types of things that attempt to deliver a new version of what's always been around. You know, I hate to pick on QR codes, but QR codes or text-based messaging on signs, those were great ideas, and they were very, very effective, but for a short period of time, because new technology, which is based on the GPS of a phone, has really made them irrelevant now. If you've got an app, if you can go to the Zillow's site or Realtor.com, you don't need to text anything in to get the information about the home. It's right there. So those types of things will come and go. They'll always happen. You need to be aware of those when you're at the conferences. I think that what's really going to emerge is, I kind of sound like I'm in the tank for this whole webinar, but I think it's all about content, and I think it's about engaging the consumer in a way that keeps them engaged in an interesting way. People keep coming back to Zillow even after they bought or sold, because it's kind of fun to look at homes, right? What if the brokerage could continue to communicate with that buyer or that seller, either one, after they finish the transaction with information about homes that just sold in your neighborhood, about interesting things that they need to know about their family. If they could capture information about their kids and the ages and the things they're interested in, they could send content that companies I'm working with have about neighborhood information. If they could, I think that's what's going to become more effective. I think that is what is going to change CRM entirely in this industry. I really believe it. I've seen and worked with a company that engaged sellers really well. They were never able to take it through the cycle, but it was the starting point. And I know that if that company were to connect with something like Onboard, they could build a consumer home management portal that truly engaged consumers through that living cycle and can create that annuity that our attendee asked about.
Gotcha. Okay, let's just jump into some questions. Now, I think probably all of you could answer this one. Maybe we'll start with you, Brian. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead first. I forgot about our free trial. Aaron, you want to talk about that, and then we'll jump to questions.
This is Mark. I'll take it real quick. Thank you. So, first of all, thank you all for listening to Brian for that past 20 minutes, and for that, we are going to give you a free trial. One of the things that we're so excited about is not only being able to do this engagement and the nurture, but track it and prove it. And what we would like you to do is, take a try before you buy. And we're going to give you a 60-day free trial using the address report creative I talked about before, which is proven to drive leads either from Facebook or put the widget on your site to give that value to consumers. Watch how many people sign up for those reports, give you their names, sign up for the ongoing drip campaign, and watch your pipeline start to grow. Go to landing.onboardinformatics.com/free trial. It's self-explanatory. You have any problems, we'll be there to help you, but give it a shot. Let us prove it to you, and then let's take a ride and certainly start growing your business. Thank you once again for attending today.
Okay, well, Mark, since we've got you, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think, what is the type of content that's most important to consumers? You guys have a lot of different data that you've looked at. What do you think is the most important stuff that people should be, going to school on and partnering with programs like yours?
Well, certainly. So we always say people don't buy homes, they buy neighborhoods and lifestyle, right? So, certainly, just being able to just, draw a picture of what it's like to live in that area, from commute times to if you have kids, what are the schools like and where am I going to school and where's the nearest safety or what have you. Things that will really start to paint what I like to call a day in the life. Certainly home values rank among the most sought after, and they're important. But, that is in a vacuum if all the other things don't fall into place too. So it's about a complete picture, as complete as you, can create within your budget.
So basically the things that you would normally talk to them about are the kinds of things that would make sense. Is that a simple way to think about it? Yeah.
Right. And someone said AVMs are perhaps wrong, but give them a reason to ask you about it. You're the neighborhood expert and say, yeah, well, that's in a range, but here's my opinion, and that's how you start to build trust. Don't think of the data as negative. Think it as a conduit for you to speak, with these consumers at a higher level.
Okay, here's a tough one, and any of you jump in on this one. We have an aging demographic that don't often utilize the internet. How do you think this group of potential buyers or sellers will be able to reach? How will we be able to reach them in the future? And how are you guys thinking about the fact that there's a ton of boomers out there that aren't getting any younger? How do you deal with that?
It's a good question. I think that
go ahead.
I'm just going to kind of give the easy answer. I think that boomers like to act like they don't use technology, but I think most of them do. I think the key is making it really, really easy for any consumer. I don't care what the age is or what the technical ability is. Really easy to provide them with interesting content that they want to receive at the time they need to receive it. I just think simplicity and use will apply to all ages, all generations, all demographics.
Gotcha.
And
we're getting.
Just one more thing to that. We mentioned about brick and. Oh, actually, I see the time is winding down, Marilyn. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'd say one of the we've gotten several questions. If you go back to the slide we were just on, people are asking about how to get the free trial. If you look on the bottom right-hand side of the slide there, you'll see landing.onboardinformatics.com/free trial. So if anybody wants that, and after the fact, if you didn't get that for whatever reason, feel free to reach out to me at marilyn@retechnology.com and I'll get that for you. Or call Kevin, which better yet, call Kevin at onboardinformatics.com. You see his contact information. He'll be happy to tell you all about it. One of the questions was a little bit more on the technology side. This is for you, Bobby. You were talking about the AI power of leveraging data. Is the front end of this system a natural language search, or is it more like current standard sort of checkbox approach, or is it both?
When you come to the site, it's going to allow you literally to click a button and ask your question. If you're at work and you're not able to be, vocal at work, then the beauty in it allows you to, instead of a drop-down menu search, it allows you to type out your question in natural language. And so it gives you that either-or version to be able to ask in your natural language, or type it out. I hope that
answers. Here's a very practical question. So one of the people that we're talking to appears to use direct mail quite often. So if they stop doing that, because that can be relatively expensive, where should they reinvest it? They can't afford to do everything you mentioned, or at least they don't think they can. Maybe they can. What's the one thing you think that would make the biggest difference to lead gen and conversion if they stopped doing the direct mail campaigns?
So this is Mark. Something that we've been testing and to really to great results is putting some creative on Facebook, which are very affordable ways to do some social media marketing and targeted geographic ads, and offer a background check on any neighbor or any property or neighborhood in the country. and this will certainly start to drive a lot more leads to your site. That's part of what this free trial is about, in fact, that you can test it so that before you reallocate any dollars you're investing, you can actually see the proof. So this is a very timely question and a perfect opportunity. Sorry to be salesy here, but we're excited about the value we could bring as well. So please understand that we really want to help you build your business.
And I want to add
I've heard that from many people, not just from Mark, who's that by far some of the Facebook advertising is the most effective, especially when you do it right like this. So you're not being salesy, Mark, you're just telling the truth. Go ahead, I've jumped off on someone, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. This is Bobby. And what I wanted to just add is everybody has to take this growth hacker approach to things. And when we hear that term growth hacker, really what we're saying is you know, realign what, like Mark is saying, realign your investment dollars to things that you can measure. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, sending out the postcards are cool, but can you measure it? Can you see how many people looked at it versus threw it in a trash can? Or, you know, so we want to be more efficient with marketing, and that's what Onboard Informatics is able to help out with. That's what DOS is able to help out with. And that's what Facebook ads, which Mark just mentioned, is able to help out with. It quantifies and demonstrates the analytics of how many people looked at it, how many people engaged it, and how many people responded to it. And that's where I think all of us that's where the industry is moving towards. I heard Mark mention once before, data by itself is just data. But the question is, what are you doing with it?
Exactly. So here's a very specific question, and maybe there may be some follow-up information we can send to the reader or the listeners today. What CRMs do you integrate with? This particular person uses Zoho, and do you integrate with them? But maybe I don't know if there's a quick list of those you can read off. Or
who's that directed to? Is that me? Or just in general?
Yeah, I would say.
I'll start. I mean, yeah. We build as platform agnostic technology as possible. Translate to that we can work with your providers to have our system sit on top of your CRM, or use APIs to deliver leads to your system, which would then automatically go in as well. So integration has and will not be an issue, at least, you know, from Onboard's perspective, and we can certainly talk about that in more detail.
Gotcha. Somebody misread the screen. They said that they looked at if you look at the screen that we're looking at, there's a little screenshot of the page. It shows $649.9. That's to the price of the home. Someone thinks that's the price of the system. I don't think that's correct. Am I right about that?
It's actually $749,000 for the system. No, that's certainly that's a listing page demo.
Thank you. Okay.
Price check aisle 1. That was a good one. Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. All right, I got one little scary one, and then we're going to let everybody go. Thank you all again so much for attending today. It's been a really fun dialogue with our 3 characters on the call today. This one's for you, Bobby. Do you envision artificial intelligence eventually replacing the real estate agent? Will it get so smart they won't even need us regular humans anymore?
No, that's and scary one. Yeah, you know what's interesting about that question is, you know, for a while now, over a decade, we've been hearing about artificial intelligence. We've read articles about it, books about it, seen movies about it, and no, that won't happen. It surely isn't the objective with DOS. You know, when I think of artificial intelligence and machine learning and the things that we're doing here at DOS, the companies in the next decade or two that really thrive, they're going to be the companies that are able to take artificial intelligence and machine learning and enhance the industry, the realtor, support the realtor and the practitioner. I know for sure that's definitely our objective. And so, good question. I get asked that question a lot. But no, I think the objective is figure out how to make everybody more efficient. Now, what I do believe, it could potentially, in a productive way, save the realtor time, make them more efficient, provide an opportunity to where it engages, which is what we're talking about, the consumer on your behalf, and then give you a client pretty much teed up to go into the field and assist them with buying or selling a home. So no, it's not designed. Gotcha. It's not going to get rid of the realtor.
It's going to be an amazing accessory to a beautiful suit. Is that how it works?
Exactly.
Like a good purse.
Well said. Well said.
One final one for you, Mark, that just came in. That's probably, if you could answer it in some general sense, that'd be great. The question is, what kind of conversion rate are you seeing? So people probably, the people on the call are into this. They know kind of what their online conversion rates look like today. Do you see a significant mark up when people are going to more of a content data-based approach?
So, what we're seeing and can control and track are the open rate and click-through rates. Erin, are you on the call?
I am, yes.
Can you speak just real briefly about some of the numbers we're seeing, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so we've been tracking, as Mark said, our engagement rates, and generally in real estate, if you send like a monthly newsletter or something like that, open rates are about 18%. We're seeing open rates of 39%, and a lot of that has to do with what we've been talking about today, which is we are speaking directly on a property of interest to that consumer, and we are showing data that's changing. So it's dynamic, it's relevant, it's something I'm interested in. So that's why I think we see those rates. Our click-through rates are also double industry averages. So it just speaks to when you start to really put, like what was mentioned earlier, put the consumer into the center of the conversation rather than the property, the results are astronomical.
Yeah, and we're seeing those open rates over extended period of times. They certainly trail off a little, but they're still, after 6 months, they're still very high. And conversion to us are transactions that their agent will do. She needs to track that and be a good closer, but we need to bring more candidate or prospects to her pipeline, which creates that numbers game. And certainly our clients are reporting that they're getting a lot more sales opportunities, and that's why we're so excited about what's going on.
That's awesome. So we're getting some questions about pricing. I don't know if there's one standard price or if that would be a question that maybe just send a quick email to Kevin and he can answer for them. Is there a quick answer to pricing,
yeah, I mean,
Mark and Erin?
we have basic packages starting at a few $100 a month up to enterprise level. Okay. And so we try to have for as many budgets as possible, and it also relates to what kind of marketing and investment our clients are doing overall. We want to blend with that. So yeah, it's best to go through a call with Kevin or myself, and we can figure out what the best way to get started would be.
Gotcha. So if everybody sees on the screen Kevin at Onboard Informatics, and there's his phone number 212-488-1550. And then again, if you want the free trial, go to the bottom there, landing.onboardinformatics.com/free trial. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to our 3 industry experts today. I hope it was enjoyable to those on the call, and good luck. I hope that everybody, as they head into 2017, thinks about re-engaging and reinventing the way that they think about lead generation and lead conversion, because it's going to make a huge difference for you. So everyone have a great day, and I hope you have a wonderful 4th quarter and the best year you've ever had. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks, panelists. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It was awesome. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.